1, 2, 3.
You were rushing.
Oh, yeah. Always rushing. Yeah. Well, economy picking can lead to that. It's been like so long since I've actually seen you in person. I think it was the last time, one of those times that I went out to LA, that I think that we actually got something to eat or something.
We went to the NAMM show. I think I picked you up and
yes,
took you to the NAMM show. I
Wow.
transported you.
That was actually a good time.
Yeah, it was.
You went to University of Miami, studio music and jazz program, when you were how old?
I guess I was 18, but then I only went to the music school my second year. I went to University of Miami as undecided arts and science. I didn't know, and to clarify, I wasn't a performance major in studio music and jazz. I couldn't get in, and I wasn't even sure that I was gonna be pursuing a career in music. And it wasn't until sort of the last year or two that I was sort of surrounded by all these performance majors and kind of playing with people who were pursuing a career in music that I thought, like, oh, I'm playing with some of these guys, maybe I should give it a shot. It's the only thing I cared about.
But I remember yeah, definitely, because I remember you had your guitar with you all the time and you were always playing. Like, there wasn't a time that you weren't playing. I can't remember it. You always had your guitar. As a matter of fact, I haven't, like, in my mind's eye, I could always see you with that, like, I don't know, like that didn't you have like a form-fitting guitar bag?
Yes, like the Beato,
Yes.
whatever they're called, like, yes.
Right.
Yes, that's right.
I wonder if now they're called Beato bags, right?
I don't know.
Because we call them Beato bags.
They're Beato bags, right? Yeah.
So, you were a very articulate player, and the point I'm trying to make is that you had naturally, or I mean, I shouldn't say naturally, because we all work hard at it, but you naturally had a very good sound. Your hands had a good, you were creating good sounds from your instrument from, I think, probably the first time I remember us doing lessons, and that was a long freaking time ago,
Wow, that's
so
wonderful to hear.
Yeah, I mean, so the reason why I'm asking is that, so let's say in terms of your musical development and the end point at school, you were getting ready to launch off into a life of gigging,
like, yes. Yes.
Yeah, into a life of lots and lots of gigs.
Right.
You were always gigging.
Right.
Now, at some point, like you were gigging in. Let's make sure that everybody knows. Adam was gigging in the Miami scene, and the Miami scene was very vibrant at that time. It actually has become vibrant again in the past 5 or 6, 7 years. I was thinking in my head, some people would argue it never stopped being vibrant, but let's keep it real. It waxes and wanes like every community.
Right.
But when you were out playing, there were certain places to play, and you were doing a lot of playing at those places. While you were there, you met a lot of different kinds of people. And your first foray into roaddom, going on the road, happened. How did that happen?
It's tricky. There is no straight path that I can delineate. There was playing with guys that I was in school with, and then having bands with those guys. And basically, when I got out of school, right, you're just saying yes to everything, right? But I still had, we were living cheap enough. I still had like these rock bands that I played in, and so, I had a band with other familiar guys, and one band that was like this, sort of weird rocky rap band, which was a thing at the time. And and then I end up playing meeting a songwriter through some of those same guys, who was a Spanish language songwriter, and it turned out we were in Miami, and he had a publishing company, and at that age you don't even know what's going on, but he formed a band with me and a couple other guys, and they end up getting a record deal. So by the time that kind of comes around, it was a major label deal. We were the first Spanish language rock band to be signed to a major label in the United States. It sounds impressive. It really just means like they have no idea what to do with you. And but the thing is, in the local community, not a lot of people get record deals. So then that sort of spins out a little bit, and at a certain point, a great engineer named Sebastian Chris, like, it turned out that Shakira at the time was making her second record, and yes, or
record.
Not so specifically, but yes, in a way. But at that time, you're already out and about, and you kind of know everybody in the scene, and you know who's who, and you're just playing, and you're playing a lot, and so yeah, but it does. Basically, what happens is, it helps the more people that know you, and the reason I bring up Shakira, because I'm not eager, not that I don't want to throw it around, but it mattered a lot, because as far as going on tour, because she's going to make a record, and what happens is there's sort of like, they're looking for it to sound a little younger, a little more contemporary, or a little different from the house that she's working in, which was Crescent Moon and the Miami Sound Machine scene. And all those guys are great, but I think they wanted it to sound a little more like younger or whatever. So because we have a record deal, and we're this band of these guys that people sort of know, we get sort of pulled into that. That's like, that notoriety helped us to play on that record. So
you guys were the hot number.
I think it's much more. It's much more insular than that. It's more like, my friend Sebastian is an engineer, and he's working on that record, and he throws our names out because we know each other, but people do, right? The people know you a little better, and they know you can play, and that the band is kind of got a sound, and you have a record release, and there's like some energy around it.
But now, just to set the stage for everybody, this was before Shakira's like rock world takeover.
Well, was kind of, whatever you want to call it. She had her debut record that was made in Colombia, and it had sold like 6 million records or something like that. And then she had, I think, moved to sign with be produced out of Miami, which was kind of like the logical next step for any of those artists, because that was the place to be. So so it was going to be her second record, basically.
So then you meet her, and the band is now. Was it that band that's playing with her, or?
No, it was. I mean, I played on like 5 or 6 songs, and it was kind of, a very primitive early recording studio experience for me. But I played on 5 or 6 songs, and then they did promo, which was like really going on tour, but you didn't realize that most of the time you're lip syncing, and also, but keep in mind, with the band that had the record deal at the same time, we were starting to go on tour to try and promote that, but it's Spanish language, so tour means go to Puerto Rico and play a show, go to New York and play a show, find your way there, figure it out. We would literally tour in a van from like Miami to Houston to LA to San Francisco, and
So it is the van story that everybody hears about.
oh, like beyond and beyond, yes. And with Shakira, then we initially started just going out and doing promo dates in like Mexico or whatever, and they're all half the time you're not really playing. Like we weren't. It was just like going around as like a band with her, kind of to shill the record.
When you were on stage with Shakira and you looked out, there wasn't 350 people that you were playing to.
Right. Yeah.
There was.
Yeah.
You were playing to huge audiences, right?
Yes. Yeah. But and the first time it sort of happens, and you've got like other people helping the show go on, there's techs. Like having a tech the first time was surreal. It's still always a little bit surreal, and it's still in LA, whatever. Everyone, it could be legends. Everyone just kind of keeps playing. So you might have this techs and all the production, but then everyone comes home and then goes to the club and is like lugging their gear and stuff. But the first time, I think it was in Peru.
And I want to just underscore that you are no stranger to playing live, and that is a very important component to earning your stripes, doing the kind of work that you've been doing for so many years.
Yeah.
You can't be in front of 50,000 people, as in literally 50,000 people, and be like,
yeah. I mean, it almost like, yes, exactly. And there's a point where it becomes so much just like the horrible cliche, like just going into the office. You know what I mean? That we, at a certain point, we're just like, okay, tell us where to go. Okay, here we go up onto the giant stage, blah, blah, blah. Okay, that's good. See you later. It's not that you don't appreciate it. Like you're still getting the feeling of all that energy of all those people. It always goes into you, and it can be sort of problematic at a certain point. Those ups and downs, that you're living, even when you're doing it all the time, it normalizes, but you don't realize it's normalizing until you get home.
Yeah, that must be very, very difficult, especially for the star. But it must be very difficult for everybody when they get home.
But yes, yeah.
When they get home and it's like it's quiet, there's nothing to do. There's no big audiences. There's no rush. There's
No. Somebody talked to somebody. I didn't even realize it, but somebody had brought up like, post-tour depression. Like that wasn't a thing. Like that was a thing, and I'd never heard it kind of put to words. And I was like, geez, I mean, it's just a normal thing that you live with, and it sounds like, oh, woe is me, but there's, I mean, basically you're not getting work, and your work is ended, and like all this sort of energy and your purpose in life is, and then and part of the sorry about the tangent, but part of what I realized about it is that imagine you come home and you're realizing like if you've been traveling for months straight or 6 months straight, when you get home, your body just like kind of shuts off. Like you need to do nothing, right? You need to stop moving. It's like physiological, but your brain is just like, I'm out of work and what am I doing? And you don't have the psychic energy of crowds. You don't have like all that stuff just gets shut off.
Your mates, you don't have your mates with you.
Right. So your brain is just like, and your self-worth and all that stuff. Your brain is sort of racing at the same time that your body is like rejecting. like that all you want to do is sit on a couch and like binge watch Netflix for like 2 weeks. And so it creates kind of like, it can create kind of a weird cycle of depression, of like crappiness. I don't want to say depression because I think it might belittle real depression a little bit. But I know that there's a sense of that, you know.
I believe people can get really, literally depressed when they are no longer without their bandmates, when they do not have the crowds, they do not have the purpose, they are not moving, and I guess the kinetic energy of it all, it's just it comes with the actual act of you know, and then all of a sudden to have that, you fly home, it's over.
Very addictive, and it's also like, I mean, look, and I know it's an extreme comparison, but it's like
been stripped away.
It's
crew guys have it too. It's like any job. It's the same reason that guys, like, you know, leave a war zone and they have to go back.
From Shakira, you go start your touring again with whom?
Actually, the main thing that was going on that whole time was actually the work with the Spam Allstars, which is, like, probably your viewers might not know, but it's a local Miami band. But like, playing with Shakira was great, but it's you know, that's a different kind of day job musically. It's not like I didn't grow up listening to that style of music. I loved that I could, like, step off the plane where I'm doing this, like, what's basically kind of a Broadway show, right? And then drop back into this thing where I get to, like, sort of play open length solos and groove and play this sort of you know, uncompromising sort of arty music. And that sort of fed, like, the side of me. I still always have a bit of, like, whatever the gene is that sort of bristles against.
How does Ziggy Marley fall in the sense of your experience?
Oh man, it's you know, I'm very fortunate. Ziggy's, but I have to say, without the Spam Allstars and all those years of doing that, I also spent a little time with Inner Circle, and in Miami, just a few gigs, like our friend RJ. I think he took my place after that. Probably did a much better job. And
he mentioned
and
he mentioned them in his interview, by the way.
Okay, so we both.
He even sang the song, so you might have to.
Yeah, I know. No. I did sing that, tie it all together.
But it sort of laid the groundwork for you to play the groove heavy music that you're doing.
Yes, it did, and it also gave me, and I think maybe this is a useful thing. It just a sense that, you know, when you're in music school and when you're getting really deep into trying to play, you know, all the jazz, or I never got deep enough, but music that is made by virtuosos, it can sort of lead people down to where they're sort of looking at music that may seem more simple, or indigenous music, or and sort of look at it like it's easy, or look down their noses at it or whatever. And I kind of learned pretty quickly that that's a real trap, and will make you sound really boring as well. And sort of realized that you know, all these musics in their own way, like whether it be soul or funk music or so, that stuff is played by people that live it every day. And even though those parts might sort of be simple or technically not that difficult to achieve if you have a lot of ability from studying jazz, making it feel the way those guys do is a lifetime, right?
Yeah, it's high art.
It's high art. And so once you look at music that way, it helps to, like, when you go to gigs, to not look down on, when you go back into all the, like, source material, those guys played that music almost at great risk and cost a lot of the time, right? And that has a sound, you know. And so even in the Spam Allstars, we played with Cuban musicians and guys that came from the island with, like, nothing but the shirts on their back, And so being on stage with them, like with that energy, it makes a big impression on you. So I think that does, in a weird way, connect all the way to Ziggy. Ziggy comes from a very unique place of privilege, but at the same time, like, that guy has been making records and playing music since since he could walk, and it's and his feel for it, and his father was not easy on him. His father was a serious guy, right? I think that's clear. So it's an interesting place to land, and what's meaningful about it is he is really a when you do sideman gigs, you're really lucky to find yourself with people that are like way better than you usually. So it was a unique thing, but the audition was basically playing songs in his studio with just him and another guitar player. So you're playing reggae with no rhythm section. That's right. So his sense of groove, like these guys' sense of time that they lived with their whole life, and so I was still, in the headspace of like, I'm a pro, I can go in and do this gig, but thankfully I didn't really understand that much, as I understand it now, because even so it wasn't hard at the time because I thought I was being professional and doing what I did to get the gig, but I realize now that they were like, this'll work. I don't think they heard me and went like, this guy's got it, he's nailing it. And a quick aside to that is, with Ziggy, we warm up before every show and we play songs in the dressing room for like a half hour every show. And the first tour, when I was still subbing, I'm in the room with him and the bass player, and you have little practice amps, and we're playing a song. It could be One Love or something like that, and I'm playing rhythm. I'm going and he stops and he goes, "Let me hear you," and he wants to and this is after about 4 weeks of shows, and he wants to hear it, and I'm like, and he's like, and he kind of does this, and he kind of squints eyes, and he kind of looks at me, and he's like, "Give it another 20 years." And it wasn't, but it wasn't a slight. It was like, it's wise, but it's like, if I had thought like, no way, this is easy, you know what I mean? That's the point is, that it's like, and when you're recording and making records, I mean, you'll play a rhythm part and like they'll work on it, and he'll do the same thing for himself.
How much did your personality play in getting the gig with Shakira and with getting the gig with Ziggy?
I'm sure it's significant. I mean, I don't mean it's significant in that I'm such a great guy. I just mean like it's significant in that, like, how I guess I just don't come off as somebody that's difficult to get along with.
That's exactly what I was going to say, and I was going to say too that haven't you noticed that the people who get these really big gigs are generally, their personality is generally an emollient to the whatever the situation would be, as opposed to somebody who's difficult, like a great player who might have an attitude. They don't usually last long.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes. And I know. I have found myself strangely, I around virtuosos. We all have, right? And some of them, that virtuosity comes at the cost of their social skills or their personality, So it's tricky, and I'm jealous of, I still wish I was a virtuoso, but but yeah, that's because it's still like, that's not the job. You know, the job is making the parts and making it feel right, and that sort of ties into all that other stuff I'm sort of talking about. Like it's so it's like, right, how you contribute to the whole. I mean, that's an old cliche, but I think it's not just the musical side, it's the personality side, and the one kind of supports the other too. So
I suppose I totally agree with you, by the way. I don't mean to like run off to the next thing, but I want to ask you one last question, which is going to be a tough one. You have a 24-year-old kid comes up to you. I shouldn't say a 24-year-old kid, a 24-year-old guy who's just gotten out of school. COVID's over.
Or girl.
Touring starts back. I mean, my friend who's front of house with Damien Marley said in April they canceled 16 months.
Yeah.
Boom, just like that. So they already knew it was going to be a long haul before they started touring. So let's say COVID passes, and the guy says to you, "Hey Adam, I know you've been touring your entire professional life. How can I do it? How do I do it? I want to do it. I'm playing in a local band, but I want to do national and international tours. Where do I have to go? Do I have to move somewhere? Do I have to buy a new amplifier? What do I need to do?"
Well, location is a tricky one, because I don't really think anyone should, like, I think it does matter. I mean, obviously, I wouldn't have. It does matter where you are. However, if I had left Miami, if I didn't stay in Miami, I don't think I would have been able to get the skill to be able to do the jobs. Because Miami, I was in a place, and maybe this is important, I was somewhere where I could live cheaply and be obsessed about music and play with as many people and as much as possible. Be on stage as much as possible. My family's in New York, but I was pretty clear that if I tried to go to New York and survive, I wouldn't be doing. And where would you be out playing? So in Miami at the time, I was able to be out playing with rock bands, because, I would have been de-pantsed if I was trying to play jazz. I couldn't.
Nobody wants to see that.
I couldn't. So it was a place where I could get good on stage, where I could just be on stage a lot. And I think that's what you do.
So location is one thing, and living cheap, and gigging. That's the three things you just said.
Yeah. But location has to be somewhere, right, that you gotta be able to do those things, like, and to be around people that are, that are better than you,
And so being in those locations, there are auditions for these national acts, right?
Yeah. Yes, but it's also like. There are, but you gotta be in a scene and connected to people to know the auditions are happening. That's right. There's not like big cattle calls. You gotta get sort of right. You gotta know enough to know enough people and be in the know enough to know that the auditions are happening.
Do you need new gear? Does this 24-year-old fictitious guy or girl, could be a girl too, because there are a lot of great touring women as well. So
Yeah.
I mean, I'm saying guy, but it could be girl.
I know.
Do you have to have touring gear, like a massive pedal board and
Well, years ago I would say maybe, but now I think that it's it depends on what style you want to pursue. But I think now, God, it's incredible, like with all the virtual stuff or whatever. I don't have a lot of it or use it much, but I mean, the things you can do with like a Kemper and a speaker cabinet, it's just like you could do anything with that stuff. So, or whatever those fractal things are, so I think you need to be able to sound good. As I've gotten older, my advice is a little different. When I was younger, I was definitely like, whatever it is, I can do it, that's what I was trying to be, right? I had the rig that could make any sounds. I had to copy the Shakira records. I had to copy, the sounds on any numbers of records, and you have to try and get those sounds because the artist wants to hear those sounds. That still happens, but and so I guess you got to go through, be able to sort of know what does what, right? Know what tools get you what things.
Is it possible to be that world touring guitarist?
It is. I think it's a little tougher because I think, I don't know that it's tougher, but it's just, the world looks very different now. I'm not talking about COVID, but I think, I was lucky to do it on the back end of where it was, the prestige sort of was different. I think it's tricky because now I think social media, like exposure, is priced into it a little bit so it beats down people's rates. Did that make sense? Like people want to be on tour taking pictures and doing that stuff. And when I first started, we didn't have that. It's like you had to pay me a salary to leave them. Right? But I would just say, like, right, you got to be someone people want to be in a confined space with for long periods of time and have a great feel, like play it like it means something to you, even if it doesn't. Like, you know what I mean?
I think that's amazing. I think that's amazing advice.
I don't
know if anybody how many people actually do the practice it takes to be that person you just.
Well, I mean, I always, and another way of saying it is like, even if I completely find the music repulsive, I can still enjoy the act of playing music with people and operating and playing my instrument, like in a group. I'm really an ensemble player. I have very little ability to like turn on the video and just play impressive things by myself. I don't. You won't see it on my Instagram very much. I have to work stuff out. I have to like.
I just took a big deep breath because I was like. And that's what
No. I shouldn't. I struggle because I think I should be able to do that because I think that's an important way that people are getting gigs now. That might be the right advice. Have a YouTube channel, have a lot of stuff. That could very well be. I could be skipping that whole thing, and I'm guarantee that I have not gotten calls because people have thrown my name in and they've done research on the internet and not a lot has come up. My struggle is that I do not see somebody that's playing amazing stuff on a YouTube video or IG and equate that with being good in a band or being good at playing with people. Like those two things, or being good in the studio, those things that I don't put those two things together in my brain. I just think like, oh, that guy sounds great. There's some people I hear and I go like, that guy that's great, but it also might be built in because I know that they're the people that I follow and that I see. I know are established and play with people, right? So maybe that's implicit, but if I see someone I don't know and they're just playing like incredible shreddy stuff or just incredible stuff, and there's no shortage of that, where I think like I gotta practice, I do not equate it with being like with sounding good in a band. Like it doesn't.
Yeah, and you're thinking about it like a touring guy, and I think that also maybe I've elicited the last piece of information that I needed from you. It's like, we will get this from you with the, and I think it's that, I don't know how many people, if any or very few people, are looking at an Instagram guitar shredder and thinking, I wonder how he sounds in the band. I think most people are thinking, wow, he sounds really good over that track.
Right.
And who knows about if they actually meet your standards that you talked about it. Can you be in a confined space with moving space, as it were, a plane?
Right. Also, musical situations move quickly. Like, somebody might not be shredding on Instagram or whatever, but who knows how they got there. And with a band, arrangements might change. Things happen very quickly, and if you're doing promo or TV, they'll be like, oh, we're taking 10 seconds off this song here, we're arranging, and go, it's live. Or I worked on a TV show, house band, and you just had to you had no time to learn the stuff, and you're just you just have to make it work, right? So there's that doesn't, none of that stuff is divined by somebody playing by themselves.
And now okay, so yes, so true. Okay, now I'm gonna say something, and then you're gonna say the next thing that you think of directly after this. Okay?
Okay.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
I'm gonna do a world tour again. Yes or no?
Yeah.
I wish I was back in Shakira's band.
No.
I need more guitar gear.
Yes.
I need more guitar gear after I got the guitar gear from the last question.
Yes, absolutely.
Good answer. Being on the road takes a toll on your personal relationships.
Yes.
What is the longest you've been on the road?
With small breaks, we were during promo, Shakira was 13 months. Yes, sort of.
My self-worth is defined by how many gigs I get.
No, not anymore.
I practice all day.
No, I have 2 kids, 2 small kids.
Okay, so you don't practice at all.
I barely have calluses right now. It's tragic.
It's gonna pass, and then you're gonna be able to do it again. Okay, you enjoyed doing this interview.
Yes. Except
That's how
no
it
one
went.
will enjoy listening to it. That's the problem.
I don't know about that. I think they will, because I think that what I wanted to do is, I'm gonna have to edit this down, obviously, but how to become this monster touring guy that you are.
Can't even.
You had
it's hard to think of it that way,
but you had such incredible highs.
Yeah.
I'll never know that.